Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back here talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. This team is red hot, and I want to hear from you guys, but stay tuned. Real quick, we're going to start it off with this fun fact. The only players with 75 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns in their first 3 seasons in NFL history. The case, the what if of Andrew Luck, and number 2, Mr. Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is having a phenomenal season. He's having a phenomenal career. He continues to make his case for MVP with 4 passing touchdowns this past week against a stout Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. We just saw Pro Bowls. I honestly don't really have much of an opinion or care too much about it in any regard, because the way I see it, the Bengals will be playing in the Super Bowl, so Pro Bowl doesn't even matter regardless. But it's still kind of a cool allocate, I guess. I did find it interesting that Jermaine Pratt is the highest graded linebacker in the AFC, and somehow this man did not make the Pro Bowl. I found that pretty interesting. So, anyways, the Bengals right now have won 6 straight football games. They're taking down teams like Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Tennessee. They're taking down playoff capable, Super Bowl capable teams. Now, here's my question for you, Bengal fans. If you guys are watching this and you feel like engaging, let me know. Would you rather have no team's fully healthy by the playoffs, but would you rather have the next closest thing to fully healthy and not have home field advantage, or would you rather be a little bit banged up, couple injuries, and have the number 1 seed? Because I was doing some pondering late last night. It's like -5 here in Chicago. A lot of late night pondering with the nice little candle by the candle, and it got me thinking, because I remember last year the Bengals run was, obviously it started off at home against the Raiders, but then you went to Tennessee, right? You got that win. Went to Kansas City, you got that win. And I was watching that Buffalo Bills versus Miami game, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, maybe Miami isn't the most suited for cold weather, but I felt like it didn't really play as big of an impact as it did when I was growing up. Like, I'm a Packers fan, so Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra, I remember like playing late games, or I guess early in the year games in the playoffs, and I feel like as a kid, the frozen tundra was just way more of a bigger deal than it is now. So I want to hear from you guys down below. But as always, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily Bengals content. The reason I bring that statement up is because right now, knock on wood, the Bengals are relatively healthy, right? They got Trey Hendrickson, the superstar stud, coming back on Saturday, as well as Hilton. That's good news. Trey's actually playing with a broken wrist. Now, I'm not one to talk too much about myself on these videos. I've broken my wrist before. Definitely not in the same regard as Trey Hendrickson, but I can't even imagine suiting up and playing a football game. But then again, I'm not a pro football player, so I guess that makes a little bit more sense. The good news is he went to several doctors, and they said that either way, no matter what happens, he's not going to injure it further. So both Zach Taylor and Trey, they feel good to go. So that's exciting news. You also have some good information about Taylor Britt. He looks to be on the right track. Hayden Hurst looks to be on the right track. Jalen Davis appears to be on the right track. So this team is relatively healthy. And once again, I don't believe in superstitions. I don't believe in jinxing things like that. I don't even want to entertain. I don't even want to entertain the conversation. But right now, you have 3 more games left on this season, and I keep saying in my videos, just get and stay healthy. But injuries are a part of the game, right? And good teams overcome any type of adversity. But still, I get it. Good teams find ways to win. I still want to be mainly healthy if I'm heading into the playoffs, right? This game on New Year's Eve to me is going to tell me a lot about the Cincinnati Bengals, because I get getting the number 1 seed is kind of, it's what everyone's looking for, right? Everyone would love the number 1 seed, play these home games in the playoffs in Cincinnati. I take a look at Kansas City, and I'm like, all right, for some weird reason, the Seattle game kind of feels like a trap. Denver's pretty shaky. Then you finish it off on the road against Vegas, and I keep seeing people talk about how Kansas City's probably going to rest their players. For the number 1 seeds, at stake. I don't necessarily see resting players as a top or major priority. So I'm just kind of seeing it the way it is. And for Cincinnati, I'm just kind of focusing on the games at hand, right? Because I truly think you're playing three great defenses to end the season. Just statistically speaking, New England is ranked number 7th in defense. Buffalo is ranked number 2 in defense. And Baltimore is ranked number 4 in defense. So, yes, I want to go 3-0. If I'm the Bengals, I want to go 3-0, regardless. I want to ride that momentum. I want to keep pounding. I want to win in the trenches. I want to get these wins. But at the same time, I feel like we're going to learn a lot about this Bengals team. And it's not to say, Tampa Bay is an easy opponent, or Cleveland or Kansas City or Tennessee are easy opponents. But this is when things start to get interesting. I don't know if people felt this same type of vibe, but recently I've really felt the flip switch in football, right? We have 3 weeks left on the season. We're sitting here, just a couple of weeks to go. These games mean something. Players are playing for contracts, bragging rights, what have you. Cincinnati's in an interesting point because you had the hardest second half schedule in the entire league. New England has had their issues. I mean, the Raiders held Mac Jones to pretty much nothing. That whole game, it seemed like Mac couldn't throw a grape in an ocean, but neither here nor there. Teams have actually been running the ball quite well against the Patriots as of late, which is a little bit new. And I go back to that game against Tampa, and I keep thinking to myself, it's something I keep prioritizing in all my videos here. I want to see the run game be a little bit more efficient. It's still being prioritized. They saw 21 attempts for 53 yards. It's just 2.5 yards per carry against Tampa Bay. I know Tampa is a really solid front seven. They have a really solid defense in general. But, that last game, it definitely seemed like Samaje was the better back for that game than Joe Mixon. I want to see Joe Mixon. I want to see everybody's confidence at an all-time high, and I do think this is something I talked about right when Joe Mixon came back, was the two-headed monster. I genuinely believe that is going to be a difference maker heading into the playoffs, because all 3 of those games, New England's not warm. You're home for Buffalo, you're home for Baltimore. Cincinnati's not warm, right? You guys aren't too far from here, from Chicago. I grew up in this weather. It's not warm. Smash Mouth football is going to be very important, not only in the last 3 weeks, but I'm not too worried about the last 3 weeks. I'm not too worried. Yeah, I want to win. I want the Bengals to win the division. I want them to get the number 1 seed. But at the end of the day, I want the Bengals to win the Super Bowl, right? So, I do think having 2 valuable running backs, guys who can catch the ball, guys who can run the ball, keep pounding, keep on moving those chains, and don't forget about Joe Burrow's ability to get first downs. I think that is just such a nice X factor that a lot of teams don't have, right? When we use Buffalo as an example, use Baltimore as an example. I know Dobbins is back and he's actually not fully healthy, but he's still a very talented running back. But having 2 fully healthy running backs, to me, in the cold weather, makes it a lot easier on the Bengals defense, because the ball is going to be the Bengals' hands, time of possession. It makes it just a lot easier on Joe Burrow. It makes it a lot easier on Zach. It makes it a lot easier on the offense in general, opening up that playbook and having that running game available. So, like I said, I know they're playing 3 difficult defensive teams in the next couple weeks, but I do want to see that running game just continue to build momentum, because it's not like they're a team that's struggling necessarily to run the football this season. Statistics aren't necessarily in their favor. They're actually averaging 100 yards on the dot. That's good for just 26th in the league. But, this offensive line has gone a long way since the start of the season, and Samaje has been so nice, especially once Mixon got down. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's just me. Let me know what you guys are thinking, but I do want to see that run game start to just gain that momentum like we've seen in previous weeks. I know the run game usually works out when they need the run game to work out, but I do think it could be the difference maker for the Bengals. So let me know what you guys are thinking. As always, hit that like button, hit that sub button. Last video until Saturday, and I hope to make a recap. It is Christmas Eve, but I hope to make a recap, and I'll see you guys then. So stay tuned for more Bengals and NFL content. Peace.